My dear brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus, the gospel just we heard fulfills the life of Father Matthew. As Jesus telling to the Father the same way Father Matthew has been telling to God the Father. The past few days he has been doing the same. Shall I tell that let me be and don't take me? Shall I avoid this? That's what Jesus is asking. But then Jesus says, "Is for this that I have come. Through my passion and death, I must glorify the Father." And then he gives an answer. He gets an answer. "I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again." And that strengthens Jesus to say yes to the Father's will. Is something like that was the life of Father Matthew Edathatal. The last few days, we have been accompanying him in the hospital, and he has been saying, "God has given me enough and more. God has done more than what I require. I am really satisfied, and now I want to go to him. My work here is over. I want to be with him. When is he going to take me? My work here is over. I don't want to live any longer. I want to be with him." And that's what Father Matthew Edathatal's last moments, he was fully prepared. Somehow God, the loving Father, had blessed Father Matthew with a very good health. He was not seriously ill at all, except for his knee problem later on, the later stage of his life. And then of late, he was suffering from constipation. And because of this, he was going to the hospitals off and on. But it was Grace's Hospital, Sardana, and the complaint was weakness and constipation. So, with the blood test, they came to know that his HP was only 5. He was given 3 units of blood, and the HP came up to 8, but his health didn't improve. So gradually his health was deteriorating. And then, although these days he was praying, continuously he was praying, and sometimes he was also instructing those who came to visit him, telling them, "Live a peaceful life, be good to everybody." These are the words that he has been talking in these last days in the hospital. And then he always kept repeating that he is ready and he wants to go to heaven. On the 1st of July, that is day before yesterday, evening, till that time, he was very conscious and he was talking. Till day before yesterday evening. He was talking, he was very conscious. And then, the next day morning, that is on the 2nd of July, yesterday, early morning, from 2 o'clock, he began to be very critical. And then he closed his eyes, stopped talking. I was informed, then I reached there yesterday morning at 8 a.m. From that time onwards, some priests, some brothers, sisters, continuously there in his room, we have been accompanying him. And that was really wonderful experience, how as we were all around him, he was slowly and peacefully bidding farewell, and at 12:40 he breathed his last. And it was a very peaceful and very gracious death. Father Matthew Edathattil was born on January 21, 1929 in Manathur, Pirakku in Kottayam district of Kerala. He was the eldest son to Mr. Ipe Joseph and Mrs. Elizabeth. He had 4 brothers and 1 sister. He joined St. John's Minor Seminary, Sardana, to become a priest for Meerut Diocese in the year 1953. He did both his philosophy and theology studies in St. Joseph's Seminary, Allahabad. On the 1st of January 1961, he was ordained a priest for the Diocese of Meerut by His Grace Most Reverend Joseph Bartholomew Evangelisti, OFM Cap, the first Bishop of Meerut Diocese. After ordination, his first appointment was in St. Joseph's Cathedral Parish, in this parish, as an assistant priest. After 5 years of his service here, he was transferred and appointed as the parish priest in Bikampur Parish. And there he was only for 3 months. From there, he was sent to Rampur as a substitute for 8 months. From there, he was again transferred to Ghaziabad as a parish priest, and there he was 9 months only. In 1967, he was appointed as the diocesan bursar in the Bishop's House, Meerut, where he held the office for 10 long years. After this, he was appointed as the parish priest of St. Joseph's Cathedral in 1977. In 1982, he was transferred to St. Francis Church, Dehradun, where he served for 5 years as a parish priest. In 1987, at the request of the regional bishops, he served as the spiritual director to the seminarians in St. Joseph's Regional Seminary, Major Seminary, Allahabad, for 2 years. From 1989 to 1995, he rendered his valuable service in Sardana as administrator and rector in St. John's Minor Seminary. Then he was appointed a parish priest of St. Mary's Church, Clement Town, until 2001. Then, for a year, he took up ashram life under the able guidance of Father Thomas Kochumattam, CMI, at Jeharikal Ashram, Paudi, in Bijnor Diocese. After this ashram experience, he began to grow a beard and practice vegetarianism. After this ashram experience, he was appointed parish priest in St. Teresa's Church, Modinagar, in the year 2002. After serving for 3 years there, again he was appointed as chaplain at St. John's Medical College, Bangalore, at the request of the director, Father Thomas Kalam, CMI. After rendering his remarkable service for 3 years in St. John's Medical College as chaplain, he began his retired life. But it was a very active life, and he chose to be with Father Alban Mendonça in helping in the pastoral ministry in St. Paul's Church, Vikas Nagar, from 2005. In the year 2008, he came to St. John's Seminary, Sardana, as the spiritual director of the young seminarians, and he served the seminary as a spiritual director till his last breath. Besides being in different parishes, he was the Vicar General of the diocese for 11 long years and 10 years as the bursar of the diocese. He was also the diocesan consultor for many times. He was the diocesan director of the propagation of the faith, and also he held the office of the diocesan director as director of the Legion of Mary. He also did 1 year of a spiritual course in NVSC, Pune. Father Matthew's life was very inspiring to all of us, no doubt whatsoever. And it will continue to inspire us, so it is worth mentioning about his life. I personally believe that he grew gracefully old, ascending heavenward with great faith and confidence. His life and the spirituality he practiced was simple and yet beautiful. He believed that he was called by the Lord to imitate him. So he tried his best to do so. On the process of imitating Christ, he learned how to renounce his self, a spirituality of renunciation. Though he possessed wealth, he never used it for himself. He led a very austere and poor life. And he never used any of his money or anything for his comforts, or rather, he found joy in helping others with his resources. Even of late, after getting admitted in Our Lady of Grace's hospital these last few days, the money that he had, he made it to be given to some poor parishes, and he wrote it. He was very conscious about using the money that he received as a priest only for the people, not for himself. Because he knew that he is ordained a priest for the people, and whatever he received as a priest didn't belong to him, but belonged to the people for whom he was ordained. He believed that he should not possess here on earth even a permanent tomb for himself, because for him the earth belongs to the living, not for the dead. I believe his meekness and the virtue of humility attracted all of us towards him. He had time for all of us. A good spiritual director, he prayerfully and patiently listened to all of us and given his advice and guidance. I had some problems, issues in the diocese. I used to go to him, pour out to him. I used to do that with Bishop Patrick. And after his death, I found Father Matthew, and I used to pour out to him, and he used to pray. That was a great support and help for me. And today, I am not pained of his death, because this is for what he has been created. But I am pained of the loss of him today here to support me. I feel at the death of Father Matthew, I feel that I am all alone now. There is no one for me. He was always available for us as a minister of reconciliation. Through his compassionate approach, he could bring forgiveness, solace, and comfort to all the penitents. His prayer life was also something beautiful and inspiring. He was committed to sit before the Lord and found joy in it. As a good pastor, he always interceded for his people. So he wrote boldly that I would shower heavenly blessings when I will be with my Lord in heaven. So like that with regard to his death, I would like to speak something. Very personal experience. I used to preach even at the feast of the Assumption of our Blessed Mother, and also some of the homilies for the Mass for the dead. I have preached this. The death becomes painful by three things. And that is, one is the attachment to the world. And second is remorse for sins, one's own sins. And the third is uncertainty of heaven. These three aspects makes one's death painful. If you look at our Blessed Mother, her death was a joyful passing. Sleeping of Mary, it was never said death of Mary. Sleeping of Mary, a sweet passing. Why? Because she didn't suffer from these three. She was not attached to the world. She was totally attached to Jesus. And that's why she could say, behold, the handmaid of the Lord, be it done unto me according to thy word. So this attachment to the world was nil in our Blessed Mother. And the second one, remorse for sins. She was immaculate. So she had not to worry about sin in her life. She was immaculate. And the third, uncertainty of heaven. She was certain and sure that she will be with her Son in heaven, interceding. So these three things were not there. As a result, her life was a sweet passing. I experienced, though I have been preaching about it, but I experienced in the life of Father Matthew, these 15 days, how gradually he was resigning to God. There was not an iota of fear or a kind of restlessness in him. He was restless, sure. Many people say that. There are times he became very restless because of the people coming to meet him. He was restless because of that, not because of he was lying, he is going to die. No. He was restless because people are coming and troubling him. I have witnessed that. And I have to shout at people to get out. Asking, what is that? What is it? And saying too many prayers which he was not requiring. It was irritation. And that he became restless and he was almost shouting it. But every moment he was very serene with regard to his meeting the Lord. He was very happy. Repeatedly saying in Malayalam, towards the end he was speaking only in Malayalam. He was saying all the time, God has given me, I have to meet him, I have to become one with him. When is he going to take me? I am ready. Every moment that he was longing for that. Never ever a real fear or something was expressed in his expressions. He was fully prepared and so there was no, because he was not attached to the world. He had no attachment. If you read his will, he has made several wills. If you read his will, everything is very clear. And it's not just a couple of months. No, I would say from the time he was ordained in 1961, from that time onwards, he had said no to the world. Totally detached. That was Father Matthew. And he lived that detachment. And that detachment reaches its culmination towards these days. That was the beauty of Father Matthew as a priest. That is really the life of a priest. And today, unfortunately, what is the life of a priest today? Seeking comforts, securities, using the money that we receive as a priest, which is supposed to be for the people, that we use it for our own pleasure, trips, luxurious life. This is what we are today. What a contrast. It pains me today that Father Matthew is not in our midst, because at least there was a model, an example to taunt us, to disturb us, but now that is gone. The life of a priest. So that's what a total detachment. And then remorse for sins. He was such a holy man. He never hurt anybody, never spoke ill of anyone. I have never heard. I have never heard from anyone also that he spoke ill of someone. So he had no remorse for sins. And then he was sure of heaven. Totally sure of heaven. So this made Father Matthew's death a very sweet and peaceful and serene death, a holy death. I witnessed, we were there as he was breathing his last. Wonderful. No. Open mouth, the breath went to heaven. That was the way he completed his journey here on earth. Care for the poor. Whatever, I repeat again that our priests should know this. And those who are not here, at least I pray that they listen this online, that they try to learn, try to change in their life, try to change their attitudes towards the priesthood. It's the need of the time. Whatever the money he received, never used it for himself. Always for the poor. Not even for his people. Not at all. I don't think anyone received any money from him. Rather, they gave him money. And he never used it for himself, for their information. Whatever they did, they never used it for himself. All for the people for whom he was ordained. As a priest, he belonged to the people for whom he was ordained. And so he was fully for the people. With regard to his life of obedience, perfect example of obedience, that was the life of Father Matthew. When I was reflecting about his life, in his younger days as he was ordained, how he was simply transferred from one place to another. Today, what a criticism when priests are, at least even after 2 years they are transferred, or 1 year, or after 5 years. What a criticism, why I am transferred? Terrible it is. But Father Matthew, one place he was kept only for 3 months. He could have questioned. He lived to fulfill the need of the diocese. And he was obedient totally to the bishop. And that's why 3 months. And after that, again another 6 months in another place. And then again transferred and another 9 months in another place. Who would accept this? But he never ever said a word. Because he knew that he has given his life for the service of the diocese, wherever it may be, whichever the parish, how much the time. That is not for us to think of. If you are truly the priest of Christ, if you are a priest according to the worldly standards, then of course you can sue the bishop in the court for all this. Again, he had, if you go through his file, there are 4 or 5 times he has prepared a will. And the will detail things he is writing. And one of the things that he was insisting is that I must be cremated. I should not be buried. I must be cremated, because the opinion that he held was this world is meant for the living, not for the dead. So no dead people have right to occupy land and build permanent graves. So I don't want to do that. I want to be cremated and I don't want to be remembered. These are the things he is writing. Fortunately, the last will, having written, because I had a few conversations, few times, talking to him repeatedly. Bishop Patrick tried his best. I tried. Then after that, he has written a will, the last will that he has written. And in that, the last sentence he has written, this is my desire. But I leave it to the bishop for his discretion. I leave it to the bishop to decide what is best. That's a man who was totally detached. He was so simple. Simplicity of mind and heart used to be called the Lamb of God. Whenever I went for the meeting, CBCI meeting in St. John's, and I used to meet Bishop Alphonse Matthias, he must be reaching 100, retired. And he, because father had been there 3 years as a chaplain, so he used to ask me, how is the Lamb of God? Only he never asked me how is Father Matthew Edathattil. He used to ask me how is Lamb of God. That's what they experienced. And in the hospital with that bad knee, he used to visit every patient. And he writes in the letter also to Bishop Patrick, from morning after breakfast till evening, he was on duty, visiting every patient. In St. John's Medical College, such a big hospital. That was Father Matthew. With this, then after 3 years of that service, then he writes, now I won't be able to do that. I'm not able to climb. It is telling on me. I don't want to become a liability here. Please take me. That was Father Matthew. Kind-hearted. He had a heart for all. Very understanding. Listened to everybody. Kept the confidentiality. He kept the confidentiality. Today is the age of gossip. Unlike the laity, it is priests and religious are more gossiping. Pope Francis condemns this. Any little thing, immediately, because that mobile is there. Gossiping goes on. Oh, he is transferred, he should not be transferred. Or that one is done, that should not have been done. These are the gossiping going on and spoiling everyone. Father Matthew, whoever came, he always helped them to see God's will. But today what is happening? Even if some person is accepting a particular responsibility, they'll say, why you are sent there? It's a punishment. Instigating. What a life we are leading. Today, I am saying this because there is a person lying before us who lived a true priest life. We need to learn from him. He's a model. God has purposely given him as a model for the diocese. If we lose this model, I don't think anyone can help us out. Clericalism. Pope Francis, so much he speaks about clericalism. It's a curse of the church, Pope Francis says. Clericalism is a curse of the church. And in the life of Father, never ever he thought, I am a clergy, I am an ordained priest, so that pomp and show, that respect, craving for respect and all those things. Never, simple, humble. Wherever he lived, even with the assistants, with the community, religious sisters, they felt at home with him. Today people are sometimes they are in really trembling because of the clerical mentality of demanding, and we don't consider the others as co-workers. We consider them as workforce given to us to manipulate But Father Matthew, even they are even they are at fault, he had love for them. He was one with them, understanding heart, an educated heart he had, which could understand even if others are in the wrong. That is a heart Father Matthew possessed, an educated heart, which can understand even when others are wrong and accept them. Jesus had that. Judas, Jesus knew he was wrong. He's not in the right. But Jesus understood him, kept him till the last. He didn't react. And then he treated equally, whether sisters, brothers, parishioners, lay people, everybody was equal for him. I would like to read to you from his will certain extract, and that it's purely for the priests. He writes in his will in one paragraph, "True, I am a priest of God, an alter Christus, but it does not mean that I deserve any worldly greatness and importance." He accepts priesthood, great gift, but that does not mean I deserve any worldly greatness or importance. But of course, priesthood has great spiritual greatness and splendor, unparalleled to anything in the world. Therefore, I request the bishop to allow me to have the same kind of ordinary treatment which any common man can afford to get. If and when I get sick and need treatment, it should be in any simple hospital within the area of Meerut diocese. This is his will. Again, more importantly, we, the priests and religious, have renounced the world and the things of the world. Then, why should our dead bodies occupy the land in the cemetery permanently? Why we should be craving for the worldly wealth, comfort, security? God has given us the earth only to use it without any attachment. Without any attachment. Attachment to it as a means to reach our destination, which is heaven. And he compares it. It is like the ship that uses the waters of the sea to reach its destination, the harbor. That's what Father Matthew is writing in his will. There are many things we can, but today Father Matthew is with us, and he is in a special way with us from now on. He is in heaven, and he is with us spiritually, guiding us as a shining example for all of us in our life to imitate him. Also, I would like to thank in a special way for the care and concern Father Matthew received in these last days, especially the personnel in Our Lady of Grace's Hospital, Sardana, Dr. Sister Liza, Sister Leonard, the administrator, Sister Jasmine, the superior, and all the sister nurses and the other nurses who had been caring for him, looking after him. I would like to mention especially Sister Marietta, the one who has been very care. I was watching how beautifully, tenderly, every moment she was taking care of him these last days. I sincerely thank them in a special way. And I must especially thank, though we don't thank, I never thank, but here in a special way I would like to thank the community in Sardana, Father Pakyanathan. Though he is sick, but he spent sleepless nights remaining with Father, especially the last 2-3 days. He was, even day and night, he was with Father. Father Pakyanathan, Father Alban, Father Sassin Babu, and Father John McEnroe and all these, they were always with him, even before taking him everywhere, keeping him cheerful, and they enjoyed his company, and he loved his company. Even till the end, I think, yesterday, day before yesterday, he was telling, I would like to go back to St. John's. Take me to St. John's. So that's what his father, so I would like to thank them in a special way. And also the caretakers, Mr. I think it is Umesh and then Suresh, those two boys who have been with him all through. So, like that of St. Paul, Father Matthew could say it with confidence, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 7. As a faithful and obedient and humane priest, Father Matthew inspires not only the Presbyterium of ours, but all the priests, all the religious and the faithful who came in contact with him. May his soul rest in peace. May he from heaven intercede for all of us.